My name is Sandra and I'm a very good afternoon to you and welcome to Tech Talk. The show is brought to you by Line. Today on Tech Talk, we are speaking to an organization that is focused on bringing the journalists back online. This is because the ordinary Ghanaian or the ordinary man on the streets seems to be doing the work of the trained journalists. But how can we bridge that gap by getting back the journalists on board? That is what we'll be discussing today. Join me for the next 30 minutes. Let's find out what Penplusbytes is doing to assist the journalists. Come along. We're joined by a gentleman who is the director of Penplusbytes to talk more about this talk. You're welcome to Tech Talk.
Thank you very much for having me.
Your company, Penplusbytes, what exactly are you into?
We were established 14 years ago, and we are looking at the intersection between technology and journalism. And the key issue for us is that how can we improve on the quality of journalism using technology? Because as you are aware, news as we know it have changed. When you pick up the newspaper, you have heard the news on social media, on WhatsApp or what have you. Now we realize that journalists don't have the capacity to deal with some of these issues.
Okay.
In order to ensure that they can deal with the new and challenges of the information society or the digital superhighway, we recognize the fact that we need to give them training. So organization was established primarily to offer that type of training. Sure. So our journalists can deliver high quality content to an audience who are demanding content 24 hours a day.
Okay, before we come to the content, what you provide for the journalist, do you fear that a time will come where the traditional journalists will be pushed aside because citizens are doing the work that we have been trained to do?
In a reality, maybe in the near future, that's going to happen.
So I'll be losing my job?
Yes, let me give you an example. Formerly, if you wanted to talk to an expert, you have to wait for the media to interview him or her. Okay. Today, on Facebook page, you have a number of experts profile that they are communicating with citizens. Okay. So traditionally, journalists play this role we call middlemen, connecting citizens to newsmakers, news providers, and so on and so forth. But today, that role is being reduced in the sense that journalists don't need to play that middleman role or middlewoman because newsmaker can reach directly toward the citizens. So if, for example, the president visits any country, formally we have to wait for the press videos and everything to come. But now we can literally follow his every footstep on his trip.
So we are at risk now?
No, we are at risk. But the good news is that there is still a place for journalists in the news ecosystem. There is still work to be done. But however, we cannot use the traditional or the old mentality to deliver. So we need to adapt. We need to change. Yeah.
How about the concern of the content that the traditional, the citizens are putting out there? Because while they are not trained, they don't know what is news, and so you get an information, you take a video with it with your mobile phone, and then you just put it, be the content it's so graphic or not, they put it out there for the public to consume. Where are we heading to with technology now?
You're referring to the role of the gatekeeper.
The gatekeeper, yeah.
The question is that it's like you have an opportunity. The opportunity comes with some challenges. Okay. So yes, you have all this good content, but in a way there'll be bad content. There'll be content that you don't want to see, but it's going to be delivered. But that means that journalists will still have a role to play. Okay. People want to have content relevant for them, content that they will not go the whole day not eating because what they saw. So that's why journalists will come in and still play that gatekeeping role. But this time they're not going to do it on radio or TV or the newspaper, but online.
On social media,
for that social media, on WhatsApp and SMS or what have you.
Okay, so now let's talk about your organization and what kind of training you offer the journalists to put them in that position where they don't seem to be losing their job with this technology, the new trend of delivering the news.
So we work in three main areas. The first area of our work is new media innovation. Okay. Here we focus on how can we craft a new mechanism for storytelling, because all this have changed. Formerly you had deadline, but today you always have to deliver news now. So all those changes are factored into our training. Okay. There is now a new technique called data journalism, where we have a lot of data available. So journalists have to be trained in how to understand the data, how to look for the key stories in those data and present them, visualize them. Because these days, nobody wants to read a boring news. They want visualization, they want value added. And that's some of the training that we provide. The second area of our work is the intersection between technology and governance.
Okay.
One of the key roles of journalists is to ensure that we hold truth to account, so that the guys holding our resources don't use it for their pockets, but they'll use it for their internal purposes. So we can afford to pay the doctors, for example. Although some people say that their
demands are too much.
So journalists have to make sure we keep our duty bearers on their toes.
So when a minister makes a promise, you can actually follow and monitor.
Follow through, make sure that that promise is realized. We can now monitor how much money we receive from oil, which is the next big thing going to happen in our country.
Okay.
Where does that resources go? So we also focus on the use of technologies, use of the traditional journalism technique of investigation and analysis to follow the money, to ensure that citizens will benefit from the resources they own, because the resources of the country belong to each and one of us.
What about the third?
The third aspect, which I just alluded to, is about things to do with democracy.
Okay.
Now, we are going to have an election soon.
Exactly.
Yeah. The politicians will come and promise heaven on earth. Now, some of the things we do is that how can we ensure that whatever they are coming to put on the table, they did not promise last election, and were they able to deliver on those promises. And so we do election coverage in a number of African countries, and our key is that elections are very interesting opportunities for storytelling, because you have people with various stories to tell during elections. How can we ensure that journalists are put into the center stage of all this? Because they cannot be at every polling station during the elections, but the use of technology, use of crowdsourcing, they can harness more content for delivery to the audience.
Great. But why has it become so necessary for journalists to embrace new ways of telling the story and then technology in general?
Same way. Formerly, if you're going to go to your hometown, I'm going to go to my hometown, I may have to use a horse or go by ship or canoe. But today, the means of transportation is what? Using a vehicle, using an aircraft and all that. So times have moved on. So simply put, journalists also have to move on. If they don't move on, what would that mean?
Be pushed out.
They'll be pushed out, they'll be not relevant. And if you go to other countries like the US, they're cutting back on number of people that they employ in the newsroom. Newspapers are dying, all because of this. So it's very important that we recognize that times have changed in a more profound manner that we see. We may not see it so visibly, but it's changing. And that's why we need to react by adapting, by changing, by understanding that the old or traditional way of doing things are important. We can't throw them away, but we need to modify. We need to ensure that we become influential in the space where information is flowing, that we don't have the gatekeeping role, keeping what to give, what not to give. If you like it or not, the news will be broken by the next citizen and not by a traditional mainstream media. Okay.
If you have to grade the Ghanaian media, would you say that we are taking advantage of technology or we still have more room for improvement?
There are some indicators to look at for. For example, how many of us have online, as news houses, how many of us have online presence? We do have a lot of online presence. But however, the content which is delivered online is still not there yet. So what we have is that there's a lot of what we call copy and paste. Content is generated for traditional media and just literally pasted online. But we need to now change to do pure online news delivery, mash up with social media, so that if I'm in my car, I may be listening to radio. If I move on to my devices, I should have the same content delivered on radio or my tablet. And one big thing which is happening is that we have this concept called Internet of Things, which could know the fact that your watch could be the device that you want to get your news from, or your tablet. And what we see in Ghana is that the newsrooms are not responding quickly enough to take advantage of those ones. So give and take, yes, we are taking baby steps, but the race is going so fast that taking baby steps will not get there. So we need to leapfrog. We need to be a bit more revolutionize the way we approach this. If not, we're left behind.
Well, we're still spending time with the director of Penplusbytes. He's telling us about the modern journalist, the modern journalism, and the trend that is currently ongoing. How we can actually take advantage of technology to tell the story, also to get our job back, because the citizens are doing our job. Something we've been trained for. Some time back, I asked my camera to climb a wall to tell, to give me a visual I actually needed. But with this drone, maybe you can do it better. So maybe the organizations out there should be looking out for this. We'll pause here for a short commercial break. When we come back, we have more on Tech Talk. The show is proudly brought to you by Cepline, and we're still with the director of Penplusbytes, who is in the person of Kwame Ahiabeni.
One of the interesting concepts or tools that we are playing with this day is called automated writing. Usually, an assignment editor will send you to go and cover this news. You go, you're human, you write. However, what's happened these days, using what we call algorithm, where you are presented with data, the story writing process can be automated using parameters that we use. Who was there? What did the person say? And so on and so forth. So the concept about doing robot journalists or robot journalism, where computers are able to look at certain data and are able to generate stories. And sometimes when you look at the stories, you can't tell the difference if it was written by what, a human being or by a robot. Because the robot is using what you and I are using. They are using the facts, they are translating them into a form of half star, and they are delivering it. However, robots, of course, cannot deliver emotions and certain insights that humans are able to do. But this is just the beginning. The near future, as the programming capacity gets improved, it will be possible to have a newsroom where you don't need to have anybody writing those stories.
Wow.
And that's why, as journalists, we have to focus on how we can ensure that the special skills we have, which is giving additional insights, which is giving additional interesting facts about that story, comes out. If not, I tell my students, I could just have written the story using a software. I'm
looking forward to the day when that robot will actually be here, so that the robot can actually write my story for me. But what is up in the news today? Let's find out in Tech News. U.S. authorities have charged 32 members of an alleged international hacking and insider trading ring. The group, operating in the U.S. and Ukraine, allegedly netted more than $100 million in illegal profits. 9 members had already been charged by district attorneys in New York and New Jersey. The hackers are accused of accessing data being processed by financial wires in order to obtain information about companies before it was made public. The information was then used to buy and sell shares. A total of 32 fraud charges was made by the Securities and Exchange Commission and relate to individuals in several countries, including the US, Russia, Ukraine, France, and Cyprus. With the stride that says I'm going places, she's traveling fast. A motorized transporter the size of a tablet computer has been developed by a Japanese engineer. The walk car can reach a top speed of just over 6 miles per hour and can support riders weighing up to 120 kilograms. The inventor, Koniaki Sato, said the device was designed for recreational use as well as for business. He is hoping to secure crowdfunding before the gadgets can be mass-produced. Looks like the day's slow traffic will soon be over. Now let's take a trip to space, but not rocket-powered. It's a totally different experience. An American company is offering brave tourists the chance to fly to the edge of space aboard a massive balloon. Starting at $75,000 for a ticket, booking is now open for the maiden flight in 2016. Tourists will fly to the edge of space on board a capsule attached to the balloon. Known as Balloons, Zero to Infinity is one of two organizations hoping to use pressurized capsules suspended beneath helium balloons as a way to take tourists into near space. And finally, this is for your eyes and ears only. Would you trust that camera? Maybe that is a question for Samsung. Now watch this. This is Samsung's effort to work on a see-through technology that captures footage of what is going on in front of a particular truck and projects that image onto the back of the big rig. The idea is to give cars driving behind semi-trucks a view of what's going on in front so that they can pass trucks more safely. South Korea-based Samsung, which has been in the headlines for its work on lithium-ion batteries for plug-in vehicles, says the setup is all in the name of safety. This is because one of the most common causes of traffic fatalities is when a car tries to overtake another car or a truck on a two-lane highway. The Korean tech giant said the prototype trucks need more testing before appearing on roads. So let's see, if we have about 1,000 of them on our roads, I mean here in Ghana, it won't be a bad idea at all. That's all for news today. We have more on Tech Talk. Break our lab news because the tech news, especially because it gives you the opportunity to know what is happening elsewhere as far as technology is concerned and also back here home. But time now to get back home and find out what is up next in Tech Moment.
Wildcat. Not to be confused with the aforementioned Cheetah Cub, the Wildcat is the newest generation of Boston Dynamics Cheetah robot line. These machines are made for speed, traveling up to 29 miles per hour. While previous versions were indoor sorts, this one is suited to run free. Number 4. VGo Virtual Student. Stuck at home with a severe immune disorder, a student in Texas is now able to attend classes thanks to a robot. She can power the virtual version of herself via internet and participate in what's going on thanks to a webcam.
Miranda suffers from a weak immune system that doesn't allow her to attend class in person, but thanks to this robot pilot program, she's back in the classroom.
Number 3. Robo Fly. It's tiny and fast, weighing only 80 milligrams and flapping its wings up to 120 times per second. Once technology advances and can make it a battery small enough, the robotic insect is predicted to be a helpful tool in search and rescue missions. Number 2. The Mab. It flies around your house, senses where it's dirty, and then deploys a bunch of tiny little cleaning bots to make the area sparkle. It's just a concept, but was enough of one to win the Electrolux Design Lab competition. Number 1. Curiosity. NASA's Mars rover has accomplished far more than any other robot can imagine, so to speak. It's only been on the red planet for about a year and a half, but has already determined that there could have once been life there. If you could design a robot, what would you make it do?
As always, it's been a pleasure having you as part of today's episode of Tech Talk. We'll be coming your way next week with another exciting episode of technology, what is happening in the world of technology, the tech news, and everything that has to do with technology. It's time to say goodbye. My name is Sandra Isanamakene. As always, have a great weekend.